The Haze Hour is sponsored by AGA-T, pioneers in e-cigs. Well, hello. It's Thursday night, yet again. 7 days after the last one we did.
Yes. The week flies by.
It does. Now, this is Keith.
Hello.
I'm Dave. Hello. And this is going to be a cracking night. There's all kinds lined up. I'm looking at a piece of paper. We're going to have a look at the aesthetics of the AGA-T. We're going to look... Sav's aesthetics. Aesthetics, yes.
Can you spell it?
Yes, can you?
Yes, I think so.
IT.
Pardon?
IT. You said, can I spell it? IT.
Oh, God.
I know it's aesthetics. It's like athletics, only different.
Yes.
Sav has been rewicking a bin.
Yes.
That'll be good. I've got another guest in tonight. The team's pulling together. The team is pulling together. It's brilliant. Tonight we've got the Innick Yukon. I can. He has.
Has he?
Oh, aye. Andy, the road hog himself, is coming in. And then, it had to happen. I was in the queue for a Forgotti. And I got one. So, the middle half, the second segment's all about the Forgotti. But not a review of it. How to wick it. And wick it right first time. And, with a little bit of luck and a following wind, assuming that the Skype gods are with us, Mark Jones is going to be joining us as well in the third half.
Right.
This is the only show on the interwebs that has 3 halves. And that's why it's called... and that's why it's called The Haze Hour! Got caught there with an e-cig in my mouth. Not just any e-cig. It's not an M&S e-cig. That's
a mauve tip.
Pardon?
A mauve tip.
Mauve? Is that for Movember?
I did that deliberately.
No. It's actually I thought it was pink, but it's mauve.
Well,
apparently,
you were never good with colour.
No, I've been colour blind. It's not. Yes. It's not good. I am enjoying this white wine.
No, I would say mauve.
Mauve.
Yes.
Lovely. Yes, all kinds to talk about tonight, but just to pick up on what we were talking about last night, we were having a little bit conversation about this in the kitchen. You may have recalled that on VT Talk last night, in amongst the hilarity and jollity and, God, I was about ready to hang myself, I'd managed to pick up on the minutes of the meetings of that day's meetings in the World Health Organisation thingy, and they'd come up online at 3 o'clock our time.
Right.
Yeah. I've been hunting about for the minutes from today's when they were talking about e-cigs.
Right.
And as of 5 to 9, they still hadn't gone up. Make of that what you will.
Yes.
I know what I make of it. They've been watching VT Talk. Not necessarily. But you don't know. Apparently there's a lot of people are up in arms about this wooden dozen meeting behind the closed doors, you know.
A bit sinister. Democracy at work.
Oh yes, democracy, absolutely. It's a bit like the club committee, isn't it? Barring women out of the bar behind closed doors.
Yes.
Because no one knows what goes on behind closed doors. I'm sure that's a line from a song. Shall we do some good stuff?
I think so, yes.
Shall we do that, shall we?
Yes.
I think we'll start with the AGA-T.
Right.
Have you any idea what an AGA-T is?
No.
No. It's a Genesis style atomizer.
Right.
Are you any wiser?
No.
No. It works on the basis of a mesh wick. I think everybody that's got an
Oh,
interest.
the mesh business.
Yes, the mesh. Yes, remember that?
Yes.
Aye. Well, it works like that. And really, to some degree, when you've seen one, you've seen them all, you know, in how they work.
Yeah.
There are differences, there are variations in style and in build quality and you know, minor variations. And there are some clever innovations as well, which we'll come on to later. But Kat said that she wouldn't mind having a look at the aesthetics of the AGA-T.
Right.
And
It's a different angle.
well, I trust her judgment, you see, because it's well known I have no taste at all. It's also been said that my wife has even less because she married me.
Well,
You can't argue with that one.
Well, I'm not going to get into that debate.
No, it's probably wise. But
I'm tactful, you see.
Tactful,
Yes.
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 I'm about as
Tactful.
tactful as a brick. This is true. So I said to Kat, I said, would you mind doing that? And she says, no problem, Bonnie lad. So she has. So Kat, it's over to you.
Thanks, Dave. Hello, everybody. It's Kat. Hello. AGA-T. Now, I'm just going to have a look at it and show you what it's like in its arrival form, shall we say. Dave's going to do all the... he's doing all the technical stuff. Best leave him to it. So, it doesn't come with a drip tip. I put that one in. But, come on, it's huge. I'm just going to show you a comparison here. That's the did clone. And the Hellfire Mega. Now, just look at that circumference at the bottom. It's big. But not only is it big, it's heavy. It's got some weight to it. But I'm going to take the top off here and show you the internals. Now I think we can get that close enough for you to see. You've got your centre pole here, your positive, with the 3 nuts. 2 of them are quite large and then a smaller one at the bottom there, which I think you can see. And then you've got a doofer, with a hole in, which to me looks like where you would thread a silica wick. I'll see if I can get that in focus for you fairly close. Can you see the little hole there? And that is the O-ring. Now when you take the top here, if you can look inside there, you can see that there is a ridge here which you have to get over the O-ring before you start turning. Now there is a small air hole there. Let's have a look, see if we can find it for you. You see, which looks remarkably small, but we'll have to see how that lines up with the wick, because you all know that's quite important. The fitting, there you go, that's it at the bottom there. What impressed me that came with this, because I ordered this from Toby across at iVapor there, the very moment he put it up on the website, is the little kit that comes with it. Can you see that? There is a spare of the little nut. I've got that covered in juice, sorry. There are 2 spare rings, there's some silica, there's a spare screw, and there's a spare grommet, and a very small O-ring. So there you go. Not bad, eh? Anyway, that's it to look at. Now I'm going to try it, just show you it on here. This is the GG. Now, makes that into quite some size and some weight, so I have no doubt that this is steel. If it isn't steel, it's something very hefty, I'll tell you that now. And that tank must hold a fair bit. I mean, I actually weighed this, 4 ounces. So you couldn't get away with this if you were going to stick it on an Ego or, you know, something of that like. I mean, here we go. Looks a bit daft, doesn't it? Anyway, that's a quick look at the aesthetics of the AGA-T. Back to Dave, and I'll catch you later. Ta-ra!
Thanks, Kat. That's aesthetics, that is.
Yes.
There's a few comments coming up in chat there as well. They were saying, is it stainless steel? And it is bar the centre post, which apparently is plated brass.
All
And
right.
apparently there's 1 or 2 people don't like brass. They think it's going to cause them problems. But,
In what respect?
well, health-wise, I think. But isn't brass copper and zinc? Or is it copper and tin that makes brass?
I think copper and tin. I may be wrong.
There's somebody in chat's bound to tell us, and it's either copper and zinc or it's copper and tin. I think it's probably copper and tin.
Yes.
And I think it's, I don't know what the balance of the copper to the tin is, but we've been cooking in copper for I don't know how long.
I mean, brass has always been seen as a sort of quality metal, hasn't it?
Bull does. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a metallurgist or a metallurgist.
No, I'm not. But,
Ah, right. The concern is about lead in the tin, according to Chris. So if there's lead in the tin in the brass.
I wasn't aware of that, but
No.
I bow to that knowledge.
I tell you
Yes,
what,
that there was lead in it.
Yes, there's some quick Googlers here. Ewall has said, bronze is a metal alloy consisting primarily of copper, usually with tin as the main additive. That's from Wikipedia, apparently. And you can easily mod the centre pin with a sleeve. And yes, I too have been on the All About forum and seen the mods that's going on. Is it McAfan that's been coming up with that? If you're slightly worried, go to the All About forum and look up the thread on how McAfan, I'm pretty sure it's McAfan, has been modding the centre post with 510 sleeves.
So it would appear the view would be that there isn't lead in it.
I wouldn't, to be honest, it doesn't bother me. If the plating's intact, it's fine.
Yeah.
And let's face it, when I was a young'un, there was lead in paint. And apparently I used to lick the walls. It's done me no harm at all.
And of course lead pipes. Lead
I
water
never had a
pipes.
lead pipe. Mine was always briar or meerschaum.
Yes.
But yes, we had lead pipes for water when I was a young'un. So I wouldn't worry about it, quite frankly. If the rest stainless steel and the tank won't break down if you put cinnamon juice in it, I would be happy as Larry. I would. So that's the technical bits on this will come a little bit later, because by the time I got to Toby to buy one, they'd all gone.
All right.
Somewhere around about 19.5 quid, 20 quid, something like that. So I go to get one and it says sold out. Those words that everybody hates.
Well, it was nice to hear about the aesthetics.
I'm into aesthetics, like.
Yes.
And how things look as well. I think that's very important. Very, very important. Do you want to find out about this Yukon?
Yes.
We'll have a look at that next, I think. And I'm going to... Shall I go there next? Yeah, we'll go to the Yukon. And that'll take us nicely up into the adverts. And then when we come back after the adverts, it'll be all good. And I got Roadhog to have a look at this. Right up his street. And you'll see why. Andy, are you there, son? Are we?
Righto. Thought I'd just have a quick look at this. Yukon. It's a liquid dispenser. Oh my god, the camera's focusing. I don't feel like moving it now. It finally focused. Yukon Yukon. It's in there. And what it is, it's not an AGA-T or anything like that. It is just an e-liquid dispenser. But it's one with a difference. It's blingy rather than plastic. And you can get these from e-cigs.com. Alright. 3 parts. You've got your lid with a little knob on the end so you're connecting up your key rings and stuff like that. You got your dispenser part with the blunt needle on there, and when you take that off you have a container for your e-liquid. Now that'll take 10ml. Just see it's got a little bit in there because I've cheated and I've been using it. So you put your 10ml of juice in there, screw the dispenser back on so it's nice and tight. Now obviously if you're going to attach it to your key ring or not use it, you can put your cap back on, but in this case I'm actually going to quickly demonstrate it for you. Take out the unit which you want to drip with, which in this case is that one. Can you see that? Excellent. Invert it, hold it upside down. God, I can't be serious for 2 seconds. And then you just literally, now I did worry about this because being disabled I can't put a lot of pressure, but so I should explain that fully. I can't put a lot of pressure on a downward, like what we would class as a spring action, but this little button here which you push down in order for it to start dripping isn't heavy to operate. The most awkward part is actually holding the unit, I find personally, but I hold it like that. You see that? Then you just put your drip in. Now, I know I've already put a couple in there, so I'm not going to add much more, otherwise we're going to get the gurgles. Ding! And it's ready to go. I made some vapour. That's very nice. It's made of 3 or 4 grade stainless steel, which is the body. It holds 10ml, as I've already said. You can do a single drop or continuous, depending on how much pressure obviously you press on the button at the bottom. Some people are going to say, what's the use of it? Well, if you got that, Pravari, GG, stuff like that, it's bling for your bling, innit? Let's be honest. Old school, you can always get that sort of thing, a squeezy bottle. It works just as well, but doesn't quite have the same effect, I find. It looks slightly different. So I absolutely love it. And I'm going to be using it an awful lot. £14.99. Get yourself across to ukecigstore.com and they have them there. But that's been me, Roadhog UK, for a little bit of a look at the Yukon Yukon. And now back to the dynamic duo that is Dave and Keith. Bye.
Thanks, Andy. Yes.
Yeah, well,
I do like the comments in chat when Kat said that the Yukon is much larger than she imagined, and somebody said that's what she said. But Gillis did make the point that the needly tip does look a little bit short, and it could give problems when filling something like a Genesis style atomizer. This is true. I think it's primarily for people that drip, to be honest. And I know, I think it was Tracy Collins that was saying that some of the bottles are different from others for squeezing, which I find.
yes.
You know, some are a nice easy squeeze, some are a really hard squeeze. And if you pick up an easy squeeze and you think you've picked up the hard squeeze, in my case, especially wearing khaki trousers, which I rarely do, it looks as though you're rather older than you'd like to admit to.
Yes.
If you follow me drift.
Yes.
You're making a nicotine patch around the crotch
It's
area.
interesting that, because I thought that was just me. The business of some plastic bottles are easier to dispense than others.
Oh no, there's definitely
But,
some easier to
yes.
dispense. Some to me feel rock hard and there's like one little spot and you hunt round with your thumb till you
Yes.
find it. And others you just need to go, huh,
Yes.
and there's a pint and a half comes out. It's
Oh,
all good
that-
stuff.
That's interesting, that.
It is, it's all clever. Tell you what, because the middle section is all video and it's nearly 20 minutes, we better take the adverts.
Right.
And Sav will be along in the third half with her BIM rewick. That's something
Right.
to look forward to. We'll be back in 2 minutes. When we come back, we're going to go straight into the Forgotti. So you won't see me, well, you won't see Keith. Oh, you'll see. The Haze Hour is brought to you by AGA-T, pioneers in electronic smoking. iVapour and iVapour Elixir, based in Yorkshire, for your e-cig needs. That's iVapour.co.uk and iVapour-elixir.co.uk. iVapour and iVapour-elixir.co.uk, proud sponsors of VapourTrails.tv. And now back to the Haze Hour, sponsored by AGA-T. Well, what we see before us has come from Vapour's vaporisers, it says here. What says there? Vapour's vaporisers. Which means, I suspect, that it's going to be the Forgotti. And let's see what we have in amongst everything. Brandy and Coke on ice. Somebody's been watching the shows. And this here is what comes. So let's open it all up. O-rings and spares. Allen key. Oops. Canthal. Mesh. That's it for in there. Nothing else in it. And the unit itself with bubble wrap on. I love bubble wrap. And here it is. Alright. Brushed stainless steel finish. Forgotti logo just there, if you can see it. We'll do some close-ups later. And that's what the base looks like. Right, I shall have to, I think, go and look at some videos and find out how to go on with this. Back in a while. Well, a day has passed since the Forgotti arrived, and I've been playing with it and sorting out how best I can use it, and I got a little bit inventive. Now my feeling is that this probably is set up more for you wicks than anything else, although I'm no expert, and I'm going to leave all the detailed analysis and stuff like that to Dave Kitson, who has more experience than I in these things. But I did find it strange to find that the wick hole was tiny. I was expecting it being a bit bigger. So I put my thinking hat on, and here's what I've come up with. If I get the lid off this Forgotti and stick it there for you to see, you will note, I hope, that the wick I've got in there looks quite huge, but it isn't. And the arrangement of how things work in here is I've never come across anything like it. It's quite unique. The filler hole being at this back edge here, centre post having a flange on that helps to make life easier when you're connecting your wick up. The recessed negative terminal bolt sitting here, I'll just turn that a little so you can see it. The recessed bolt that does make it a little bit difficult to get to put the wire on, but I'll come to that. But yes, the hole for the wick is the width of this screw here, which is the second one, which I assume you would use for a U-wick. So how did I go about solving this wee problem? Well, the issue I had was one, as it happens, of needing to have, I thought, a thicker bit of wick at the top than at the bottom, for want of a better way of putting it. In other words, I needed to get a fairly thin piece of wick through the hole, but I wanted a thicker wick at the top. So here's what I did. I started with a piece of 500 mesh in this shape, this portion of it being the leg, and this bit that's going to wrap round to make the whole thing a little bit thicker. I'm not going to show you how that all comes together, but you end up with that. So thin leg going down into the tank and a much fatter top, and obviously you can make that top as fat as you like by varying how long this section here is. And by the time you've done all of the bits and bobs with the torch and everything else, you end up with something that looks like that. The thing is that you can mould the wick as you go. And what I did was to try and make it so that it would come to roughly the size of this, which is a little screwdriver former. In actual fact, what we're talking about here is the drill bit method, the P2K method, but slightly altered in terms of the wick itself. So I think what I'll do is wind another coil and then try and show you how it all comes together and see whether that's going to work for us. So I'll be using this one that I made earlier, and let's get a piece of wire and start trying to wind the wick. And I'm swapping between cameras here. If it all goes to hell in the handcart, I do apologise. Alrighty, winding the wick then is the coil rather. Winding the coil is fairly straightforward in the usual kind of way of these things. I'm using that as a former and just wind 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in my case 6, because I kind of like the kick, and then pull them tight, snug them up, and we end up with something that looks a lot like that, which is untidy and needs sorting out. So at fingertips we do that, good and tight, a relatively tidy coil. So what happens then? Well, let's go back to the other camera. And what I'm going to do, in order to make this easier to see, is cut that wire off. I know it's a waste. The first thing I need to do is to check that the coil that I've made, that this coil will actually fit over the wick. Now bear in mind that the wick is going to slide in thin end first. Very, very difficult to do at arm's length, and I want to be sure that it's just going to slide in and make light contact, and as you can see there, it does. So that's the wick on, and now I need to get it onto the Forgotti. Right, I shall take out the wick that is in. By the simple dint of unscrewing the two nuts that are there. And you've got to undo that top nut quite a way. The bottom nut rather, the negative nut. Right, so there's the wick that was in. I'll just put that to one side, and now we have to fit this one, and you fit it with the wick in place. Now that's just sitting nicely without touching the bottom, so I need to turn this thing round and then snug this wire under that bolt. And what I've discovered is it's easier to use something to help you press it down and get it tight under the bolt head I should say, and then get that tightened down. And that should snug that coil down a little bit as it goes. And then tighten that round the top end there, and holding that firm, tighten the nut. Okay, it doesn't need to be over tight obviously. I'm going to make the assumption that everything's working as it should do, and so do some snippage. Alrighty, at this point you need to take your wick back out, and you're not going to need the wick for a little while, but what you are going to need is a device that will put out 3.2 whatever volts, something along those lines. And at this point I'm going to use an AGA-T twist. Well, it's actually a vision spinner. And then, as you can see, the coil is there, and what I'm going to do is start heating it, and you can see it's starting to glow, and I just want that coil to heat itself up little by little, bit by bit. You can see the glow. The studio lights are quite bright, and possibly turn that up just a tad. And the idea is to put a coating, there it goes, heated up as you can see. The idea is to put a coating on the canthal so that it becomes non-conductive. So as well as the oxidization on your wick, you've also got this protective coating coming on the canthal. The idea is to make it very, very difficult for there to be any form of conduction of electricity. You don't want any electrons. There we go, that's glowing up quite nicely. And you can see as well, actually, if I hold this right, that there's no glow on that top leg that goes across to the centre post. So that should mean that it's a hotspot free zone. And all I'm doing as I do this is bringing the temperature up slightly each time until I get a nice glow, so that I can get a bit of coloration on the wire itself, slightly blued if you like. Just pulsing it on and off. This is very, very low voltage. It's only 3.2, 3.3, 3.4, something like that. It's just enough to heat that wick up. That's all I want to do. The wick, the coil. Just want to heat the coil. And I'm going to keep on doing this until when I leave go and it goes out, it's lost its silver shine and has a darkish colour to it, which we're just about there now. You can see the difference. Silver at the top of the wire where it connects onto the centre post, and it's dark down the rest. So that means, I think, that we're ready to go. What I now need to do is drop the wick down the centre of that coil, down through the hole, making sure that it goes right the way down. Which it has done. And then we need to trim it. And I'm going to trim it under the height of the post. As you can see there, if I twiddle it round, you'll see that it's under the height of the post. You'll also see that the wick follows that wire. And now it's going to be time to stick it onto the device du jour, which in this case is my GG, and get it closed in a little bit and then press the button. And as you can see, we've got not a lot going on. There we go. And look, no hot spots. Oh, we do, we have a hot spot. Okie dokie. That might mean a little bit of jiggery and pokery. That's it. Didn't need an awful lot of shifting. Still not quite there. Some juice to it. That's better. Hotspot free. So Now all that remains, really, is to stick the top section back on, as you do, and line up my air hole the way I want it, which is about halfway open, I like. And that's it. As you can see, it's working a charm. Loads of vapour, loads of flavour, and that's how I do it. I hope it helps. See you back in the studio.
The Haze Hour is brought to you by AGA-T, pioneers in electronic smoking. And now back to the Haze Hour, sponsored by AGA-T.
And we're back in the room. We're back in the room. I hope that was of use to everybody watching. But I've invited Mark along tonight. Say hello, Mark.
Hello, Mark. Hello, Mark.
I like that. I do like that. I like that. Now, because it's not VT Talk, Mark's in kind of on a separate feed, but you should be able to hear both of us, so I'll put him, because he's much better looking than I am. Not quite as handsome as Keith. And a halfway house for the hair, really.
Toss up, really. Toss up, really.
So you were queuing up like I was on the Friday night, hitting refresh every 30 seconds to buy one of these things on Vapors Vaporizers, were you not?
Yeah, I think I spent a good 2.5 hours. Probably warped my refresh button. I think it needs replaced now.
It took a while, but we managed to buy one each, which was good. And you got yours on Monday, the same as me. What's your experience been with it? Tell us what you've done, what you found, and stuff like that.
Well, got very nervous when it first came, and I couldn't get the lid off. Because when it first arrived, the O-rings were incredibly tight. But after looking back on the videos and checking, I found it just pulled off. So give it a bit of force, and it came away no problem. And since then, I think I've gone through 4 different wicks. I started off with the 400 that came with it, which is cut on the bias, and for me that just didn't work. I went to a U-wick, and I found that no good either. And then using the T method that you've just shown, I tried it with a 270 mesh,
All right,
and
yeah.
it wasn't working very well with that. And then eventually I've got the 500T, which is what I'm using now, and have been ever since. And that is wicking amazingly. If anything, a couple of times it's actually over-wicked a little bit.
Yeah, I must admit I've had that myself, where there's been a tad much juice getting up there. And I've never had a gurgle on a Genesis before.
Yeah, it's rather disconcerting the first time it happened.
Well, it is, because I'm using 50-50 juice. I don't know, but what are you running in that?
This is a 70-30 PG-VG.
70 PG to 30 VG.
Yes,
So
that's the normal mix.
I think, I haven't tried it yet, but I think it might be possible to get it running on pure VG. I'm not 100% certain on that. What about the airflow control?
I really like that. It's incredibly easy to use. You just have to have a quick look and twist it ever so slightly. I mean, it's a microscopic turn on it to get the airflow between incredibly tight and breezy as anything. So you can find a balance that'll suit everybody, I think.
Yes.
And it works really well.
Actually, All gets just typed into chat there. He says, so 400 mesh in a T-shape, like that one that I've just shown, is no good on the Foggy. Have you tried a 400 yet as a what I'm calling a dual diameter wick?
I haven't yet. The 400 that I originally tried was what came with it, and that is cut on the bias. I think that is really only suitable for if you're doing a U-shaped wick. But ordinary cut of 400 I think should be fine. It shouldn't be much difference from the 500, I think.
Well, there's only one way to find out.
Yeah.
And I suppose we'll have to get some 400 and make a DD, dual diameter mesh wick. And I'm sorry, I've got to cut to Keith. I'm going to cut to Keith. Look at that face. It's completely glazed over.
Utterly and completely over my head.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, Keith.
No.
It's not for everybody. I'll go back to Mark, because I need to ask him the question. Mark, if you had to buy another one, would you?
Yes. And possibly will if I ever get the chance.
Right.
And are you a physicist, Mark?
No, not really.
Scientific background?
Background in electronics. Bit of physics thrown in.
It's just a matter of getting used to it, you know, Keith.
Exactly.
Seriously.
Well, best of luck to those who feel that way inclined.
Well, you've tried it, haven't you?
I have.
Do you want another blast?
Well, not particularly, no. The heat generated by the device I thought was something pretty unique. When you're using it, you've got to make sure that your lips are not coming into contact with the device, because the more you use it, the hotter it gets.
Yes.
Am I right?
Oh, yes. Well, that's the same with any metal-lidded Genesis.
Yes.
If you've got it on song and tuned and working properly. I mean, Mark, how hot is yours getting in use? Because I mean, I can see you sitting there sucking on it like there's no tomorrow. Very long drags, and you'll be running at what, 7-8 watts?
Somewhere just above 8, I think. Yeah.
Right.
It's not too bad there at the minute, but after a long time, it can get fairly hot, which is why I haven't got a metal drip tip on. I can't get away with a metal drip tip on these.
No. I'll freely admit I've gone to a ceramic one, just so that it doesn't conduct the heat, because it does get hot. But I've found if I've been sitting using it for 5 or 10 minutes, dear God, the throat hit is immense. What about you?
Yeah, it gets stronger and stronger the longer you're using it. If you're using it continuously for any length of time, it just seems to go up and up. And you just have to stop eventually.
Yes, exactly. You do. You have to stop eventually. It kind of forces you to put it down. We'll take a little wander away from the Forgotti for the minute, because we have a piece of video on probably an easier way to rewick a rebuildable, something that might suit you better, Keith.
Right.
This is Sav, the second part of what you started,
yes.
the diary with the bin.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that this will probably suit you better. I think you'll manage this all day long.
Right.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Here we go.
Right, it's time to do the new wicking coil for the bin. I have Mother on standby to tell me what to do when I break it. This one is a bit cruddy, you can't see that very well because I can't put my hand in. But it's time it needs done. I'll be doing it with the pre-made wicks and coil, but I really have no concept of how these work. Ow! I feel if you're right to take. Oh, now, these are awful big bits of stuff compared to what I've just taken off. I'm guessing the bit with the wire around it sits in the middle. I'm getting it. No, I'm not.
Well, which way was it when you took the old one off?
You didn't tell me to look at that. You
Well, of
just
course
said
you look at that.
unscrew it and prise it off with a screwdriver.
Well, I had assumed you'd looked at it.
Well, don't assume anything.
Blood!
See,
Doc, keep it in the air.
don't get blood on tin your tip, but Jesus. Who said that and why? But we have successfully replaced the wicking coil in the bin. Was it fun? No. Am I injured? Yes. Would I want to do it again? Not particularly. But was it difficult? Not really. Next time, I've got to make one from scratch and not use a pre-wound one. That may actually be easier. Who knows?
It could be.
Bye for now. Say bye, cat.
Bye bye, cat.
I love Sav.
Very brave. That.
Isn't she though? She
Very
hurt her
brave,
finger as
yes,
well, you know.
It makes me feel ashamed that. But I mean, she's got that pristine collection of tools there.
Yes.
Very impressive.
Oh yes, yes. I mean, even Mark will be jealous of her tools, are you, Mark?
Oh, definitely.
Without a doubt. Do you think we can get Sav to make wicks and coils for the Forgottis and stuff like that?
Possibly. Maybe it's one a week or one a month.
We'll see. We'll see what she
I know
says.
who to turn to when I need technical support and you are not about.
Oh yeah, I'll go and say Sav every
Yes,
time. Yes.
Definitely.
Because she can take you down to our mum's
Right.
and our mum will sort you out.
Oh,
No
right.
bother at all. she whinged almighty about doing that, you know. But it's fine.
I'm not surprised.
It's fine. You get there. You get there. It's one of those things, isn't it? It's like everything else. There's a knack to it, I suppose. And if you've got the knack, you're fine.
Yes, I mustn't be very dexterous.
The
fingers, you see.
We discussed fingers and dexterity last week, didn't we?
We did, yes.
Yes. I watched that show back, and we can't go there again.
No.
Because unfortunately, at the time that I was watching that particular piece back, my darling wife came in from work, which is why there's a bruise upside my head.
All right.
Yes.
I
got thumped.
I can't imagine that, but I'll take your word for it.
Oh, it wasn't my wife.
Oh.
There was the dog jumping over me to get to her quarters with the paw.
Right.
That's my excuse, and I am sticking to it. I'm just going to do something. I'm going to check and see whether we've got any word back from the World Health Organization before we go. And I'm just going to cover you up a little bit, Mark. I'm sorry about this. But we'll go to that shot and see if it comes up. And there you go. Refreshing away like a refreshing thing. I'll even come down so you can see. Refresh. And there should be journal number 5 there by now. And it isn't. The Thursday 15th of November is what was going to happen. And I can refresh as often as I like. And they have not put up the minutes of today's stuff when they were talking about e-cigs. Do you make anything of that, Mark? Are you a conspiracy theorist?
Not normally, but I'm getting there.
Yeah.
It's definitely suspicious.
You have to wonder. It's possibly something to do with the fact that apparently the world's press has been picking up on the fact that everything's been happening behind closed doors. But, you know, I'm doing my best to bring you the news as it happens.
Surprise, surprise.
Shock or a probe, eh?
Democracy and transparency at work.
Indeed, indeed. And I'm just going to have a quick look at the chat and see where we're at. Where are we? Kat has rewicked enough to keep the army supplied while Sav did her one. That's unfair. It was our first time. Unfair. Oh, yes. I'm saying nothing to what Gary Dibley said. And Sav has said she has to do one from scratch. Yes, that'll be fine. It'll all be good. It'll all be good. No problem whatever in any way, shape or form. And I think Kat is probably shouting at us now. So I just need to say cheery bye to Mark. So Mark, thanks very much for joining us and sharing your experience of the Foggatty.
No problem.
Cheers, Mark.
Catch you later.
So that's Mark. Thanks again, Mark. I shall start the titles away because that's what I've got to do or I get my bum kicked.
Right.
Terrible as it might be. So there's the titles coming in. I'd love to say thank you to everybody for joining us one more time. And tonight I started the record in the right place, so I don't have to do the beginning of the show at the end, which I did last night.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Don't go there.
No, I was away with the mixer last night, I was. Thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks to Andy, to Sav, to Kat, to Mark, to Keith, but most of all, to you for joining us and watching. We'll see you all next time. Take care.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
The Haze Hour was sponsored by Janty, pioneers in electronic cigarettes.